Joining us now, our favorite Hollywood correspondent, but we're not going to call her that anymore. I think she's come up with a much better title and moved on from Fox News Radio. She's ventured out on her own, has a great new blog that she's just launched, SabrinaSabbagh.com, Sabbagh. And you can follow her on Twitter as well, at Sabrina Sabbagh. Sabrina, good afternoon. Thanks. It's good to talk to you again.
Absolutely.
Now, did you watch How I Met Your Mother last night? Are you a fan of that show?
Well, I told myself that I was going to try to avoid the spoilers, but clearly I'm an idiot because, it's everywhere. And now I kind of feel a little sad that, I'm going to be disappointed just along with everyone else. And now that I know what happened, I still want to see it just kind of all unfold. But, yeah, I mean, the tweets and the social media of this are really, people feel the same way you do. I mean, it's kind of a letdown. It's sad, but in the same way, you've been watching the show for 9 years. You're really pulling for the characters. As you said, you identify with some of them. You see yourself in them as well. And so it's just one of those things that's, I think, a little difficult for people. But 12.9 million viewers, that's the early Nielsen rating. So that's a series high for the show. I mean, that is big for a Monday night on CBS that's not sports related.
Yeah, really. Especially good timing in between all of the March Madness games.
Exactly.
And I'm trying not to reveal what happened for anybody who might not have a chance to watch it yet on DVR, but the real winner, the real star, is cancer.
Well, sure. Sure.
I mean,
that usually is the case with things like this. But people are just sort of outraged, but also feeling like at least a sense of completeness in a way. I mean, Thomas, who's one of the creators, came out and said, no matter what the fans think about the finale, that they're happy and they thank the fans and they appreciate them and they love them. And this is just one way that they decided to end it. I mean, you were talking about ways that shows have ended in the past. Sometimes they run out of money. Sometimes, they lose the writers. Sometimes they have to figure out how to tie up all the loose ends. And sometimes they don't tie up the loose ends, which is even more infuriating. I mean, you guys didn't mention Breaking Bad. I think that was probably one of the best series finales that I've seen in a really long time. Of course, certainly more current and recent, so it's fresh in my mind. But that was one that I think fans were really pleased with. And it's hard to please everyone, especially when you have a show that's been on for so many seasons.
Well, I think, and again, I'm trying to avoid any spoilers, but the two kids, Ted's two kids that have been told the story of how he met his mother throughout the entire series, they filmed these final scenes 8 or 9 years ago when they were because they were getting older and they couldn't age on the show because they were being told the story throughout the whole time. So I wonder if the writers kind of wrote themselves into a corner because of the scenes that they had filmed with the two kids, and they had to try to figure out what they were going to do with it.
Well, that happens a lot. I mean, it happens with shows like The Walking Dead where you have a young cast. You can't really make a ton of changes because you can't go back and shoot flashbacks. You can't go back and sort of shoot these things when you have these kids who are very clearly getting older. It's a very difficult thing for these networks and these shows to do. But, all that being said, there are some people who are okay with the ending. We have to at least keep things a little balanced. I have found people on social media who say that they're happy with it, they're glad with the way things ended and some of the twists and turns, and that certain people ended up, we'll say, happy. And so, again, I think people are going to have to watch it and decide for themselves, and maybe even rewatch it. A lot of times you don't see, something that you may have missed or a heartfelt, heartwarming moment because you were so irritated and upset about what was happening in front of you. So it could translate a little differently the second time around.
Before we get into the subject of the movie Noah, I've got to mention that when you go to Sabrina's blog at SabrinaSabbagh.com, you've got to read her story about her time at Fox News Radio and one of the reasons why you left. I mean, you've got an amazing story about your fight against cancer as well that we've been on the air together off and on for a year, and I had no idea
Yeah, I mean, it's that, I'm saving that for my series finale also.
All right,
Just waiting to let that all out. But yeah, Noah, gosh, this movie is causing so much controversy. It's pretty unbelievable when you have a film like this that is getting basically calls for boycotting. I was listening to some of your callers that were talking to you earlier today, just saying that, they're not going to go see it and that they aren't going to support the people associated with it. But not everyone feels that way. $44 million at the box office over the weekend.
Yeah, it had a huge week despite the calls from the religious right to not go see the movie. And the people behind Noah are doing their best to market it as if it is a Christian movie. And I'm trying not to pass judgment because I haven't seen it yet, but from every review I've read, it's not really from a biblical perspective. It's more from a science fiction and action directorial perspective.
Completely. I mean, if you take sort of the religion out of it, which I know sounds weird because how can you?
Right.
And just watch it from exactly what you're saying, the perspective of entertainment and, I mean, the cinematography is unbelievable. The special effects, the stunts, it's visually stunning. Truly. So, it's one of those things that if you're going to go see a film and really hammer home the idea of the origin story and where all of this came from, it's going to be a little difficult to enjoy it. But if you want to just sort of be entertained and you're going to take the religious aspect out of it, then it is actually a very well-made movie, if I can say that. It's stripping everything else sort of away from it. Russell Crowe's performance, even some religious groups have said that his intensity is on point, and a lot of the things that he does, the choices he makes in the film, are very commendable in that sort of role. But Darren Aronofsky, who, of course, is the one who's behind the film, has said, he's not saying that it's completely taken, from the Bible. He said that there's liberties, and he even released, sort of a, something along with the film that kind of explains that it's not supposed to be taken exactly from the Bible, and to let people know that he did take some liberties there. I don't know that was enough for the religious groups to sign off on this, and you were right. When you were mentioned earlier, he did want the Pope to not only watch the film, he wanted to sit down. He wanted a little chat, personal chat with the Pope about this film, and wanted the Pope to sign off on it. So
who does he think the Pope is? Barack Obama?
Well, sure. But,
I'm not going to advocate going to see the movie or not going to see the movie. I'm not going to say boycott it or go see it. But I think if you are going to make that decision to go see Noah, go into it thinking of it as an action-adventure movie, and it's probably not a film for kids who may have a little bit more trouble differentiating what's in the Bible versus what's in the movie, and which one of those two stories is real, or there's a little bit of column A or column B.
Rating, I don't know that children should see it. I mean, even if all of that aside, I mean, there's a lot of, it's kind of jarring and scary in some instances. I don't know if a young child should go see this in any case.
And finally, to wrap things up, Sabrina Sabbagh, at Sabrina Sabbagh on Twitter. Today is April Fool's Day. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about it, but usually on April Fool's Day, we start to see the internets blow up with all sorts of rumors and hoaxes. I've seen some pretty funny stories. Google is doing a few things with their website, and I'll talk about that later in the afternoon. But has anybody died on Twitter yet today?
Probably. I mean, the celebrity death hoaxes are, it's funny to me now because I don't have to represent a very well-established and respected news organization before I go on and say someone has died and they haven't. but it's so difficult when these death hoaxes come out because it's so hard to try and confirm them. And of course, you don't want to immediately call the grieving family. Hey, is your husband really dead? Is
right,
that real?
Right.
Guys, is that... So, yeah, I haven't seen anything so far as celebrity-related. They don't usually go strong with the death right away. We usually get a couple baby announcements, some marriage, usually things we don't care about anyway, like the conscious uncoupling of Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris. If they said, oh, that was just a joke, we're back together, does anybody actually care?
Yeah, that's true.
I doubt it.
Most of the time, whatever. It's their life.
Yeah, but you're right. The tech stuff is, I think, what most people care about. That's the funniest things, where people are just really the fact that people are so gullible. I saw one thing about a wine tap you could add to your faucet and turn it on, and like, you know, like the term house wine.
Right.
And people are like, wait, how do you get this? And it's just like in a little tank under your kitchen sink. I'm like, okay, people, can we just think for like 2 seconds how this? I mean, I'll move into that house, that's for sure, if it were real. But
Ben and
I don't
Jerry,
think that's okay.
Ben and Jerry did a great one a few years ago where they had the virtual ice cream taster, where if you go to the Ben and Jerry website and click on an ice cream flavor, lick your screen, and you'll be able to taste what the ice cream is like. That's
Yeah, and then everybody ended up with like hepatitis or something.
Yeah, exactly. The one that I'm looking at right now on Google, if you've got a touch screen keyboard, a touch screen for like a tablet, you can download from Google Chrome a keyboard for your cat so they can communicate with you. All the paws have different letters that spell out words. So that's one of the ones I'm looking at, is the crazy cat guy on the show. Hey, Sabrina.
I want to see videos of people doing this, trying this stuff out.
Thanks so much. Can't wait to have you on again soon. And again, visit her blog, Sabrina Sabbagh, SABBAGH.com, or on Twitter at Sabrina Sabbagh. Thanks so much, Sabrina. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Anytime.
It's The Scott Show on WSPD. Scott Show on WSPD.